And then the king said, who is in the courts? Who is around? They say, oh, Haman is in the outward courts of the king. Call him. And when they called Haman in, the king asked Haman, what would I do to celebrate? What will I do to express my delight and honor to a man who has done me well? And the scriptures tell us, now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to honor more than myself? So Haman senses that there is a new promotion coming up quicker than he expected it. So he thinks the king is asking for Haman's sake. His sake, Haman. So now Haman starts to make his recommendations for the king to honor a certain man. These are the things I think you can do. Let the royal apparel be brought, which the king uses to wear. Get that thing you put on. And what? And get it. And the horse that the king rides, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of the man of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man with whom the king delighteth to honor. Bring him on horseback through the street of the city and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor. Why are you clapping? Okay, yeah, you know where the story goes, okay? I get you. Even me in my heart, I'm clapping. So, painfully, Esther 6:10, the king says, do this to Mordecai. Make haste the apparel, the horse, and go and look for Mordecai the Jew that sits at the king's gate, and let nothing fail of all you have spoken. Like, make sure you do all you have spoken. Now that's another sermon, but today I'm talking about marriage. And so you can imagine Haman. Ooh, you can imagine Haman. He does what the king requires. And the Bible says in verses 12, Esther chapter 6, verses 12. Then Mordecai came again to the king's gate. But Haman hastened to his house, mourning and having his head covered. Mordecai hasn't left the issue. They're going to kill my people. After celebrating me, I'm back at the gate. I have an issue. Okay? So Haman hastened to his house, mourning and having his head covered. And then Haman recounted to Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends, everything that had happened. Now listen. Then the wise men, I'm reading the Amplified, and Zeresh, his wife, said to him, now who has spoken this time? Who is supporting it? Thank you. They say to him that if Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of the offspring of the Jews, you cannot prevail against him. Thou shalt surely fall as a stern one. Just stunning one. If the guy you're seeking to kill is Jew, if the guy you're falling before is Jew, you cannot prevail against him, and you shall surely fall before him. Now, who's saying? The wise men. And then Zeresh too. Honey, it's true. They had left a very important fact. The first time when he narrated Mordecai, he didn't emphasize that he was dealing with a Jew, yet he knew that he was a Jew. And Zeresh, to agree with that, perhaps even Zeresh knew that you cannot fight a Jew, but she didn't have that information because it was not inspired in her soul to pick it. Are you following the story? So this is the advice that comes later. Anyway, long and short, the party happens. I'm going to run quickly into the 7th chapter. And then it is later revealed to the king that Haman was using this to kill all the Jews. And that would also include who? Esther. The king cannot go against his decree. And then the king is what? Is annoyed. And to pacify his anger, the Bible says he got Haman and hung him on the very gallows that he had built for Mordecai. The king discovered that the gallows that were already built. He said, take him on those very gallows and hang him. Who got the inspiration on how Haman was to be killed? Now, those of you who are mature, how do you process that? Those of you who are thinking what I'm thinking. Because probably some who might not understand, some are young children, they're seated here. Those of you who are mature, what do you think is the implication of such an experience? And what are we to do if Satan can skillfully come through your own person whom you love so much and in an expression of love hang you? Do you know how many people in the world are not living their purpose in the world because of the person they're married to? And this person did not intend to destroy or do anything to break their course. It came in the name of love. If you check their heart, they meant right. But in there, the devil came, hidden in a narrative. And for some of you, these very marriages could destroy your destiny unless God does something. Could divide you deeply than just the wars that you have, the diatribes that you have in your relationship. Because the deeper division is spiritual. And sometimes it's not the divisions between us. Sometimes it's the things that we are separated from or set against. And some of these things are the very reason or purpose for which we are created. But not many people understand that, especially when you have not yet found purpose. When you think life is as straightforward and pragmatically interpreted as you grow up, you fall in love and have children and then grow old and then you die. Listen, if that's the mindset Joseph and Mary had, if they did not know that they were raising a boy in there that was going to save the world, then it would have been a very catastrophic thought. God had to prepare this woman early to tell her, you're not just going to carry an ordinary child. God had to prepare Joseph early to know he's not just marrying an ordinary woman and he's not raising an ordinary boy. You see, purpose. I'm trying to talk about purpose here. That Satan can divide and has divided people in notions that they don't even have an idea to interpret. They don't even know that some of the simple decisions that we could do in love could actually be the most costly ones concerning our destinies. We did not get married to kill the dream of God on our lives. We got married, or we get married, to serve God better and fulfill what He has placed on our lives. And sometimes those little small things can bring the bigger wars